Admittedly, drones are a lot of fun to fly. They're a lot of fun to use for photography. But do they have any real use in the prepping community? Now, as I said in the intro, you guys know these things are a blast to fly. You get some amazing pictures with them. You can do a lot with these drones. But, do they have a use in the prepping community? And I think to some extent, if all your other preps are in place, that they might have a very good use for you. Now, like I said, if you don't have your food, your water storage, if you're brand new and you'll never afford one of these, because you don't have a lot of money right now, it's not something to stress over, okay? And there are less expensive ones. This happens to be a DJI standard 3 standard, Phantom 3 standard, I'm sorry. And, there's so many other cheaper versions out there that may not work as well, but may have applications in prepping. But this is not something you run out and buy first. You want to make sure you got your food, you got your water, you have your survival gear, your bug out bags, way to cook, all that stuff way before you start looking into stuff like this. It's a lot of fun, don't get me wrong. It's just like guns and ammo. Do you want to run out and buy a ton of guns and ammo and not have anything ready for, when you got to eat? So I'll give you a quick overview. I'm not going to explain too much, but I'll give you a quick overview on what I feel and how I feel these could be useful to someone in the prepping world. Your first thing is, what I think of is recon. Checking out your area, okay? Let's say, you hear trouble outside and you want to go check it out. Well, these can do that. These are very simple, and once you get them up high enough, they're very quiet. I had this, I'll show you in the footage later on down in the video, but I've had this up to about 100 feet, 115 feet. You couldn't hear it from where I was standing and in my, garage door. So for recon, for keeping a watch on your property, for giving you advance warning of some trouble, real handy, awesome. Search and rescue. If you're involved in ham radio like I am, and there's a disaster and you're called out and nobody can get to where you gotta go, something like this can come in handy. These can go into places that human beings can't. I've seen them flown through rubble. I've seen them flown recently with the hurricane through destroyed streets where, maybe you don't want to be walking. Flooded areas, they can get there. Okay? Looking for resources. Want to find out, you're out in the middle of nowhere and you want to find out where there's water, maybe animals to hunt. All stuff like that help. Maybe you're looking for another person. Now, granted, you're not going to shove this in a bug out bag. This is more of a your bug out location type tool or your home type tool. But it can come in handy like that. Something I thought about this morning, actually, while I was flying, this is communication. This can be, these can be programmed to fly a specific path, land, and then take off again. You could communicate with your neighbors with this if you can't go outside. If you're in a situation where maybe it's not safe to go 2 doors down and tell the neighbor you have something to barter or whatever, you can use this to fly down there with a note on them. Now, it's not going to carry a huge payload. These things are fairly heavy. I'd estimate probably about 10 pounds with the battery in it. But it's not going to carry much more of a payload than the camera that it already has. But strapping a piece of paper to it isn't going to cause a problem. And lastly, you can use this to survey an area that might be infected with some kind of biological agent, chemical, bio, nuclear, who knows. Excuse me, I'm trying to finish up something, eating something here, and I'm choking on it. You can use this to survey areas that might not be safe for human beings to go into. Now, granted, if you're going into an area with fallout, you're going to need a solution to decontaminate something like this. So while it might be a one-time use thing or a last-ditch effort, it does come in handy. Quick overview of the aircraft. I'm not going to get into too much stuff because I know because I've been watching them the last few days. There are tons of videos online on how to get these set up, started, and flying. But this is the aircraft right here. There's your camera. It's mounted on what's called a gimbal. I've got a fly in here that won't leave me alone. The gimbal device auto-stabilizes the camera. When the aircraft is powered on, it's kind of neat because you can hold it and the camera will stay straight. No matter how you turn the aircraft, the camera just stays straight and compensates for it. And you got little shock buffers here so that it won't bounce around. The controller is surprisingly simple. In the, I want to say, late 80s, I raced RC cars. And we used to have these, they were made by Futaba, these controllers that looked like guns with steering on them, and they were really, really complicated. This thing essentially is your cell phone, all right? That's what runs this drone. This is a little sunshade. I'm going to take it off for the picture, for the video here. This is essentially your controller. You snap your phone in there, and you run it from your phone, essentially. And you connect to this via Wi-Fi. This is actually a Wi-Fi, the aircraft is actually a Wi-Fi hotspot. So that's it, pretty much. Simple controller. Has a nice weight to it. It's not, it looks kind of cheap and plastic, but it's actually a pretty decent, heavy item. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll in some footage and give you an idea. Now, this is the second time I've taken this up in the air. So cut me some slack if the footage isn't that great. I took it up in my driveway yesterday for about, I don't know, a minute and a half. I posted it on my Facebook page. And let me tell you, it was kind of nerve-wracking because these aren't cheap and didn't want to crash it. Now, these are GPS enabled, okay? So that's another thing to consider. These rely on a lot of sensitive electronics. An EMP would take them out possibly. They rely on GPS. The neat part is they're very simple to fly because of that, because you can just take them up to a level, let go of the controller, put it down, walk away, and it'll stay there because it's using the GPS to keep it, the GPS satellites to keep it in one place, like kind of hovering. So, yeah, in a total collapse of society or some kind of EMP or something like that, this may not have as much use as we think. But for everyday disasters, earthquakes, floods, fires, who knows, something like this could really come in handy. So I'm going to roll in the footage, and it's not all that exciting, really. It's just taking off from my driveway and landing in my yard and the empty lot across the street. But it'll give you an idea how these can work and how high they can go. And I didn't take this anywhere near its limit of height. Again, I'm still new and kind of freaked out by flying something this expensive and not wanting to crash it. But the neat thing is I'll be able to roll some of this stuff into my videos later on. It'll be kind of cool. Anyway, here's the footage. right, so that was it. Forgive the jerky camera motions. I'm still getting used to controlling it. I'm nowhere near a professional photographer with these. I've seen people do amazing, amazing videos with these things and pictures. But for me, it's kind of a brand new thing, so did the best I could. It was a little nerve-wracking on landing because this also has an auto land or a return to home feature. And while the GPS satellites are very accurate, it may return home a couple of feet away from where you took off. As you can tell, I took off I don't think I show you the beginning. Yeah, it doesn't show the beginning where I took off. But I took off from my driveway, and I landed about 5 to 6 feet over in my yard. I had to do a little correcting at the end, and it does let you correct when you're returning to home. So you can correct if you see it, because I thought it was either going to land on the edge of my roof or in my tree. So again, fly these in a big open field. Again, this is my second flight with it. I wasn't all that great, but hey, it worked. So anyway, that's my thoughts on using drones in the preparedness community. It's something that could come in handy. It definitely has its limitations, but might be something you might be interested in looking into if you've got all your other preps set and ready to go. So I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.